just starting up the game. Gonna be playing a new one, Autopsy Simulator. I've literally just finished downloading it, so hopefully I'll just share this. Hey Bradley, hope you're all good. Whoa, my game's really loud. Alright, hopefully it should come up on the screen. Hoping I don't get banned for this game, but fuck it, why not? Okay, right, let me just share to a few groups. And I shall be right with you all. Yeah, I hope you've had a good weekend so far. I just want to spend the time with the family, really, just doing bits and bobs. Chilling, spend the time with the kids. Right, that's good. I'm happy with that. Right, let's do it. Oh, I'm a little bit scared. Not gonna lie. I'm a little bit shitting it. Playing this, I've seen a few things.
Office of the Medical Examiner, Beatsville. Dr. Jack Hanman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious. For the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife. Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it. I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
Hi, this is Kate Brooks, a reporter for the New Orleans Weekly. Couldn't find you at home. I'm starting to suspect you avoided me, Mr. Hadman? Anyway, as you know, we'd like to write an article commemorating your wife's achievements. We'd be delighted to talk to you about it. Along with this note, I'm also leaving my business card. I hope you find it at your home office. Okay.
They definitely pay me too little for this. Awful. It would be good to finally repair the coffee machine.
I take it that's his wife. Oh, okay. Spin things.
Wednesday. It's
Might have
not
to
my
turn the
favorite
sensitivities
day,
down. Hey,
although it's certainly
Calvin!
better than
Thank you
Monday.
for the like. I just downloaded this. It's
Stephen
Autopsy
didn't clean up
Simulator.
after himself
Actually, really
again.
fucking good.
He won't be needed for the next few months.
Just gonna turn the sensitivity down just a tiny bit. That's better.
Another kidnapping this month.
Alright, we'll go check the back. Oh, I actually stand here, right? Oh, that's the bathroom.
Okay, time to pull myself together. And get back to work.
Bit of a shit.
I need to set the camera first.
Take the camera. Is this storage?
This place is starting to look like a hoarder's dream, rather than a storm. Now remember, Jack, don't forget, hit the record button this time.
No run? No, I can't run. I take it I've got to go in here.
Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up. Now, I just have to get everything in frame. This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m. Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy, step by step. For those of you who have already performed your first autopsy, this will refresh. Let's start.
Okay, so
Always wear
first,
an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp accidents, it's worth having disinfectants at hand. It's true that you won't get ptomaine poisoning straight away, but if your liver or kidney aren't doing well, you may end up with diarrhea. The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something, like I do all the time.
okay.
In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process. During your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. And lastly, remember that nothing teaches you self-narration like working with the dead. So get used to that fact soon. Everyone will think you're talking to yourself. Now, onto the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we?
Look through the information. Where is it? Aha. Okay, so we got...
The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers, locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years. The deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows. The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man. He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased. Signs of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket. That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves. Now it's our turn to take some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera. It's in here somewhere. Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere. As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Voila! Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary. The boiler-healed wound looks old. I'll take a closer look later.
How do we get out of the camera?
That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain. Hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite? Some wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small. In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data.
Pin the photographs to the board. Perform the autopsy. Okay. So, what are we gonna be doing?
Let's start. The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something, like I do all the time. Personal information. The deceased was unclothed. Date. Okay, as you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass. Which spot first? It looks like a burn mark. No doubt painful, but it's not pertinent for this case. Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color. Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all.
There's nothing.
I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes.
Shit.
First, I mark the location of the injuries and make notes for each one. So, the head wound. Definitely an important clue. This is something we'll invest even though this type of wound didn't contribute to the deceased's death. We're still required to record it. We're not in frost season yet, but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be causes of frostbite. If Toby's body was cold for a prolonged period, the frostbite could have resulted from the body's defense reaction. The safety of the internal organs is more important than fingers, nose, or ears. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of. Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. This is of no interest to us. Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. We will check if there are any signs of freezing internally. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like good.
We still have one thing left from the basics, rigor mortis. Well, we take our deceased by the hand, gradually re-raise it. Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion?
Oh, that was weird.
Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police information appears correct.
Okay.
Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw. The cut is made from ear to ear. After which, we remove the skin and the top of the skull.
Oh man, I should have put my camera on, but I didn't have enough time, and I'm watching my green screen at the moment. So I do apologise for that. Begin a thorough brain analysis by examining.
After the basic examination, we can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric. The brain looks good. Let's take a cross-section. Some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now.
Jelly. Where's the cutting board? There he is. Great.
Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us. So far, so good.
Oh,
The
please don't do this again.
hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain.
Okay.
We can rule the fatal accident out as well. Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs.
Okay.
I grab a scalpel from my kit. The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y. We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall. Alright, now we peel back and separate the skin.
That bit.
Now, we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this. Quite a satisfying crunch, for some anyway. After removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice two things. Firstly, there is no congestion of the internal organs. This means that although the deceased was hypothermic, it didn't kill him. Secondly, the deceased smoked like a chimney. So, we should take a closer look at those lungs. We can see widespread black and tarry deposits. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... what was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation. What now? The syringe. Now's a good time to collect some samples. Specifically 3. For 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse. Now from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge, but before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings. Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
What was that?
This whole thing is covered in stains. I should check this out under the microscope sometime. Let's get back to the examination. We put all of the samples into the rotor. Now, we set the appropriate time and speed.
15 minutes at 70%. 15.
Okay, let's roll.
Okay, that button.
Oh shit, the fuses again. My old but trusted, ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy.
Perform the toxicological test. How do I do
A
that?
considerable collection. A considerable collection.
How do I...
My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy. I wasn't sure it would amount to anything, but the World Wide Web has been a blessing for speeding up my work. Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife. My old but trusted centrifuge, ideal for all the fluid. Where were we? Oh yes, the blood alcohol concentration.
Oh, okay. That was weird. Hey, thank you for stopping by.
Let's see what we've got here.
Oh, I pressed that by mistake. Okay.
Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However, considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol, I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all. Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart. We remove the organ and examine it closely. We look for dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death. Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. Size is normal, healthy, pink color, and as expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside. We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out. We open the stomach along the greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end. Oh, I already feel like there's something left inside.
Oh, shit. This is hard as fuck. My table's not big enough for this. I have to keep stopping and starting.
Okay, large amount of gas, small amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat.
Looks like porridge.
Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents. There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck. At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as with the stomach. The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray. While cutting such a small organ as the trachea, we must make a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the scalpel as we would a pen. And after careful examination and deduction, we've got it. A clogged trachea. It's time to summarize the whole thing.
Okay, so we got a clogged trachea.
Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then, the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
He choked on his own vomit. So the deceased probably fell asleep and fainted after drinking a large amount of alcohol at its concentration.
And now it's all clear. The death was suffocation. Now, signature. The mystery is solved. But for us, this is not the end. First, the dead body needs to be cleaned up. For this, we will need to close the body and grab the needle. First, we unroll the skin flaps.
What? First we unroll the skin. Lovely.
And then, we sew the deceased back up. I'm using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Now we say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey. God, I'm tired. I'll drop these samples off at the lab on the way to the bar.
Put your car in the parking lot.
I'll call Steven. I don't feel like drinking alone today.
Why do I feel like this is gonna get really bad? A little bit like, 1 second. Who is it? Oh, I don't want to put it back. And that was only the introduction, that wasn't it? Why do I feel like shit's gonna get
Forgive me. What? Christ. What a dream. Fuck. Time flies, and probably doesn't have to get up to work. So much light everywhere. The remnants of last night's binge with Steven. I'm not sure if it's still edible.
Wait, where's the bathroom? Not in here.
pill a day keeps the defective Jack away. It's a shame this won't help with my hangover. Ugh, the fucking phone. Okay. I know I'm late. I'll be there soon. It's not like the dead are impatient.
Jack, no.
Alice? Who is this?
It's Charlotte Graves.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you. I thought it was work calling.
It's okay. I hate it when work calls me at home, too. How is everything? We haven't talked since... you know.
Well, there are good days, and there are bad days. What can I say? At least I can hide away at work.
Well, you always were the most comfortable in the dissecting room. Listen, I have an unusual request.
Okay, how can I help?
It's nothing serious. I just wanted to ask, do you have any pictures of Alice? Maybe one where the two of us are together? I'd love to have something to remind me of her.
I guess. I'm not sure. I'll look through her things.
Thank you. I'm sorry to trouble you with this. Well, this can't be easy for you.
I'll get through it somehow. I've been meaning to sort through her stuff for a while. Have you asked Stephen if he has anything?
Yes, I spoke with him this morning. He said he gave everything to their mother and that I should ask you.
I see.
Jack, I know you're trying. That you cope somehow. Stephen's there for you. Although, well, we all know how he can be. But, I mean, if you wanted to reminisce about Alice, talk.
I really should go now. I overslept, I'm late for work, and I still have some errands to run on the way.
Oh. Okay, sure. Sorry to keep you.
I'll look for something and send it over. Thanks for the call, and bye.
Oh, do you have my address?
Not on hand. You'd best remind me again.
292 Browning Lane, apartment 432, Johnson City, New York, 13790.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. It would mean a lot to me. Just miss her so much.
Yeah, me too. And that's okay. Really, no problem.
Thank you. Take care, Jack.
You too, Charlotte. It was nice to hear you.
Gosh, he kept us on the phone for ages. Right, just 1 second. I just got to do something I forgot to do earlier.
Well, that was a bit unexpected. I should probably find something to send. Some days, I just feel like setting fire to all this paperwork. I'm fed up with it. It's been almost a year. It's always good to have something for a rainy day. I wasn't able to support her through this. Till death do us part. It was a miracle that the coffee didn't wash off the writing. And that she said yes. It's always good to have something for a rainy day.
Where's this
It hurts too much to look at these, but I can't throw them away. Menu for today: dinner in town and takeaway coffee.
I don't get. Where is it? Oh man, this is frustrating. Alright, one last look there.
Alice didn't like this portrait. Alice didn't like this portrait. Alice and Charlotte in Amsterdam. It's hard to believe they've known each other for so long.
Right, let's go back and get that envelope.
It would be better if Charlotte had this. It deserves to be on display and not hidden in a drawer. Okay, time to go to work. I'm seriously late.
Fucking hell, that took some time, didn't it? I'm so shit at that. Post it in the mailbox.
I should grab some coffee and aspirin on the way.
We're taking the stairs.
These fluorescent tubes are brutal.
That's not creepy at all. No, not that mailbox. Obviously not. I don't know, this is quite creepy. Oh, there it is. It's giving me anxiety. Playing this.
I hope this helps, Charlotte. Okay. All done here. Time to go. Huh?
Is this my car? Okay.
Damn. I forgot my jacket. Ah, well. I'll brave it for tonight. Too bad.
Crazy shit's gonna go down, I know it. Oh man.
Nice and fresh. At least it's peaceful here.
I'm gonna shut that.
Good evening, Mr. Ridley.
The timesheet handman.
Some corpses have more personality than this guy.
So now, kitchen. Storage. Where's my office?
Christ. Who leaves the window open in the middle of November? So I'd better check the answering machine.
Who puts their desk back to the window?
Hi, Jack. I dropped by a little early today. I left the body with Ridley in the corridor. He wasn't sitting in the locker then, so maybe he'll even throw him into the room. Well, how are you doing? I mean, it's your first birthday without her, and... This, I still have a hangover, and you know me, I run to the John like the neighbor's fucking dog. You know, today I slipped on his shit again. That fucking furball. He always has to shit next to my car. Anyway, I can't come over in the evening, but we'll catch up on the weekend, okay? Bye.
Okay.
I almost forgot. Charlotte called me this morning. She asked about you, so answer your calls, Jack. This time it's not a reprimand for being late.
That's par for the course. I wonder when this clown will learn to look under his feet. Due to a lack of preparation, this time the lecture will be improvised. Birthday. I actually forgot it was today. Alice baked me muffins like these every birthday. A treat for later. I always crave something sweet after a section. Okay, joke's over. Apron, gloves, and get to work.
Alright, let's go glove up.
Ah, man. I remember you. You were on that talent show. What was your name again? I need to order another batch of these. I've got to remember to do that later. And that's the whole point. Steven laughs at me for recording everything. He says I have a bigger collection of stuff like this than most of the creeps he's caught. November 21st, 1991. Time, 9:13 p.m. The autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Lecture for the Medical University of Missouri. After yesterday's lecture, you should already know the ins and outs, so today we'll be consolidating our knowledge. So, where do I start? That's right, police
Hey,
folder.
look at the files.
Ah, yes, Samantha Barker. Now remember, there's probably going to be a lot of chatter about this.
Superstar talent show when I saw Barker. Is that it?
When questioned, friends admitted that Samantha's last days before losing contact seemed extremely happy and relaxed. She also quit drinking alcohol, had mentioned something about rehab. The friend also admits that there was no indication of an impending tragedy. Found in her own apartment by police patrol. Officers were called by a concerned friend of the deceased, who had been unable to contact Barker for several days. During the interrogation, a friend of the deceased admitted that Samantha never got to grips with the sudden fame that came after winning such a high-profile talent show. After her first album became a commercial success, she was hit with a creative drought. She suffered panic attacks and severe sleep problems. Drugs and medication came into play. The deceased was found in her own apartment, in a semi-recumbent position on an armchair. Large quantities of alcohol and empty packets of sleeping pills were also found in the apartment. Well, let's see what settled this matter. As you can see, the body is fully clothed. Therefore, before we move on to photographic documentation, we must remove the clothes. This time, we don't... Okay, now we can continue with the examination. Again, begin by taking photographs of the cadaver. I guarantee that over time, it will cease being embarrassing for you. First, we photograph the whole body. And now, any suspicious-looking marks or wounds. Interesting. Very uneven. We need to investigate this.
Yeah, that.
You don't get such bruises from a normal contusion. Yes, I've seen this many times. Well, there's even more here. A few we will need to look into here.
Okay. Right, let's go do this.
Notes prepared. Time to take a closer look. Some furrows have imprinted more strongly, others less, as if someone was, undecided?
Undecided.
The number of bruises suggests that there may have been some kind of tussle. Such bruises are caused by either a very heavy blow or by some internal issues. And here's something interesting. The skin of the deceased is covered with numerous blisters. Some of them are ruptured. Others still contain fluid residue.
Maybe get a sample of that?
More numerous blisters. We have some leads to investigate here. Let's write this down.
Oh, wrong one. For fuck's sake, there we go. Okay, so she got.
Given the condition of the deceased,
Okay, that
it's
one.
difficult to tell immediately whether the bruises were the result of a struggle or perhaps the result of iron deficiency.
Okay, the marks
On the neck of the deceased, we can see clear furrows, indicating that strangulation may be the probable cause of death. Currently, it's difficult to say whether the bruises were the result of a beating or whether it could be some kind of internal bleeding. In general, such blisters usually appear in the case of mechanical abrasions, but due to the place of occurrence, this should be excluded. The most likely cause of such skin changes is the high concentration of barbiturates in the body. Although it's easier to have abrasions on your feet, but the number and size of the blisters suggest that it's probably a matter of barbiturate poisoning. Examination with a UV lamp will dispel some doubts. Potential attackers could have left traces. A severed spinal cord, trauma to the larynx, or trachea will verify whether the hanging was the final nail in Miss Barker's coffin. After examining the organs, we can easily verify whether there was internal bleeding or whether the deceased was suffering from something. I'll add barbiturates to the list of necessary tests, to be checked in the lab later. Given the testimony of the victim's friend, I add alcohol poisoning to the list of potential causes of Miss Barker's death. A blood test will no doubt quickly verify that hypothesis. But first I'll check for external traces. For this we use the good old UV lamp. I look carefully at the whole body. UV rays will reveal any traces. The area around the head is empty. Torso. Empty, without marks. Legs, there's nothing here. Right hand clean. The left hand seems to be fine. No marks. Well, nothing to surprise us here. Now gently, we take the deceased by the hand, and we check for rigor mortis. Again, the hand falls freely. After yesterday, you should know what this means. Since we don't have a definitive lead, we will examine all the key organs one by one. So, I'm starting the internal inspection.
Right. Scalpel.
I dissect the skin of the deceased. And I proceed to deflect the skin flaps. Compared with yesterday's body,
Gooey.
the deceased has only trace amounts of adipose tissue.
Can't grab it. There we go.
Now for the ribs. What do we have here? Or rather, what don't we have? There is certainly no sign of internal bleeding. Sometimes regarding bruising, it doesn't take much. My wife was constantly banging into furniture, walking into door frames. That's a wonder she never broke anything. Before I disembowel the deceased, I will take samples for toxicological tests to determine the alcohol content in the body. I just need my syringe. Just to be sure, I'm taking samples from 3 organs: the eyeball, the heart, and the bladder. Analysis will rule out, or confirm, alcohol poisoning as the cause of death. All done. I'll transfer these to the centrifuge. What was it? 1570? 1075? Maybe one day I won't need my notebook. Numbers have never been my strong point. It's probably why I regularly forgot birthdays and anniversaries. I'm lucky Alice always forgave me.
What is that? 15. 1570.
Gently does it with this old thing. Handle with kid gloves. I'm starting the centrifuge. Let's see what results come out. The laboratory is already open, so... Fucking hell! Ridley! Mr. Ridley!
I
Where
don't
is
like
he?
it.
The fuses need resetting. Fuck it. I'll do it myself. I swear there was a flashlight in here.
No, put that back. This laboratory. Oh, mate, I'm hating this. Bathroom, that's the office.
Whatever. I know where the switches are anyway.
I don't. Which one is it? Oh, there.
First the right, and then the left.
Oh,
Your other right, Jack.
my bad.
And voila. What? What the... oh, for fuck's sake. Can't I work in peace? Jack Hanman speaking.
Easy, why so rude?
Steve? Sorry, man. This place is falling apart, and Ridley won't even lift a finger to help. You just can't work here.
Did the centrifuge strip the fuses again?
Yeah, eventually everything's gonna go up in smoke.
Look on the bright side. It's a free cremation with your autopsy.
Jesus, stop it. That shit pisses me off.
Okay, sorry, Jack. Anyway, I'm calling to ask how the autopsy's going. Soon there'll be journalists sniffing around for info, so we'd best be ready.
I'll whiz through this in a couple of hours. It doesn't look like a complicated case to me. More of a formality. The report will be available in the morning.
Sounds great. Thanks. Phew! How's your head?
Well, my head seems better than yours. On the way to work.
Holy fuck. Jack, turn on the radio.
What? What's happening?
Quiet.
A 3-car police convoy was involved in an accident near Pete's Bay Bridge while transporting prisoners to Orleans Parish Prison. At the moment, we do not know the exact number of victims or whether any of the convicts escaped. However, the scale of the accident indicates a large number of victims, possibly even fatal ones. Police are on their way to investigate the incident and secure the area. We know that the injured prisoners are on death row. The police were to transport them to their execution, which was to take place tomorrow morning. Many of them are very dangerous criminals. We will report on the matter on an ongoing basis, so stay tuned with us.
What was, Steven, was Red Pete one of the passengers? He was, wasn't he? What if he survived?
Jack, I have to go. They want me on site.
What if he survived?
I gotta go. Talk to you later, okay?
Fuck. Calm down, Jack. Pills. I need my pills. You heard him, Jack. A serious accident. Lots of victims. He's definitely dead. Yes. Nothing's going to happen. Christ. I've got to get back to work. What? Technical break. At least I know I can pursue a career as a janitor of my own but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy. Fucking hell!
What the actual fuck?
Alright, let's see if we were able to get anything out of this piece of crap. And miraculously, yes.
Alright.
The samples did spin. I'll transfer them to the chromograph in the lab. It's been a while since the eyewash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now.
Where have I got? That's the bathroom. That's the office. Laboratory.
Alright, let's load this up. I placed the test tubes in the rack. Now, just take 5 milliliters from each. Precisely. And the then next... Five more. We put the prepared sample into the machine.
That was cool.
Let's see what we have here. The results indicate that the deceased did consume alcohol shortly before her death. However, this is not an amount that could cause poisoning leading to death. Just slight inebriation. I can return to the body and continue the rest of the examination. The chromatograph results show that we can eliminate alcohol poisoning from our list of potential causes of death. However, remember that alcohol can affect the functioning of the entire body. It disturbs the heart rhythm, accelerating its rate, and dilutes the blood, which may result in more severe bleeding in the event of an accident. Also remember that alcohol affects the metabolism of drugs in the liver, which I'll now look at in more detail. First, I'll pick up the syringe again. I'll take samples from the liver and the heart to test the concentration of barbiturates in the body. That's enough. I'll do the test later. I'd best not try my luck with the centrifuge right now. Now I remove the liver. No lesions. However, it is slightly enlarged. Perhaps it's a slight inflammation or drug-induced damage. It may also be the result of the deposition of substances from drugs. Let's check the weight of the organ. The weight is 1,300 grams. The liver is enlarged.
Okay. I don't know what the
I'll move on to a cross-sectional study. Perhaps the enlargement is the result of early cancerous changes. The blade glides through smoothly. I don't feel like I'm encountering any changes with an unusual structure. No steatosis or cirrhosis. The liver is actually quite clean inside. The liver is basically healthy. We already know that the deceased didn't abuse alcohol. The question is, what about drugs or other substances? I move on to the heart. Oh. At a glance, we can see signs of a heart attack. The deceased is definitely too young to have a heart attack due to natural causes. The liver is enlarged, not from alcohol poisoning, and the heart looks like it has collapsed. So, I guess we need to go to the centrifuge and check for these barbiturates. The last time I saw this kind of poisoning was a few years ago. I better check the data in my notebook. He was a middle-aged guy. He took his medication and forgot about it. So, he took another pill. He forgot again, and took another one. And another one. Until he took the last one. That's why it's better to have amnesic drugs in... Alright.
fucking joking? Alright, we're just gonna continue.
Nice and fresh. At least it's peaceful here. Good evening, Mr. Ridley.
The timesheet handman.
Some corpses have more purse. Christ. Who leaves the window open in the middle of November? So I'd been...
I left the... What? This,
I wonder when this clown will learn to birthday. Now, April...
Alright, we'll have to do this bit again.
Ah, man, you were on the... I need to order another Kafka. And that's...
Just skip through it quick.
Steven laughs at me for... He says I... No, but the autopsy lecture for the after yet. So today, that's right. Release folder. Ah, there. When questioned, friends admit the deceased was found in her own apartment during the interrogation. Found in her own apartment by after her first album became a commercial success. She suffered panic. Well, as you can see, therefore, this time, however, okay. Now we can continue with the examination. Again, begin by taking photographs of the cadaver. I guarantee that over time it will cease being. First, we photograph the whole body. And now, any suspicious looking marks or wounds. Interesting. We need to investigate this. You don't get such bruises from a normal contusion. Yes, I've seen this many times. Well, there's even more here. A few we will need to look into here. Notes prepared. Time to take a closer look. Such bruises are more but... And here's something. The skin of some of the number of... Some as if someone was... More numerous blisters. We have some leads to investigate here. Let's write this down. On the neck indicate. Given the condition of currently it's in general, although it's even with an examine after I'll add to be checked. Given the testimony of the victim's friend, I add alcohol poisoning to the list of potential causes of Miss Barker's death. A blood test will no doubt quickly verify. I look carefully at the whole body. UV rays will reveal any traces. The area around the head is empty. Legs, there's... The left hand seems to be... Right hand clean. Well, nothing to surprise us here. Now gently, we take the deceased by the hand, and we check for rigor mortis. Again, the hand falls freely. After yesterday. Since we don't have a definitive lead, we will examine all the key organs one by one. So, I'm starting the internal inspection. I dissect the skin of the deceased. And I proceed to deflect the skin flaps. Compared with yesterday's body, the deceased has only trimmed. Now for the ribs. What do we have here? Or rather, what don't we have? There is certainly no sign of internal bleeding. Sometimes regarding bruising, it doesn't take much. My wife was constantly banging into furniture, walking into door frames. That's a wonder she never broke anything. Before I disembowel the deceased, all done. I'll transfer these to the centrifuge. What was it? 15, 70, 10, 75? Maybe one day I won't need my notebook. Numbers have never been my strong point. It's probably why I regularly forgot birthdays and anniversaries. I'm lucky Alice always forgave me. Gently does it with this old thing. Handle with kid gloves. I'm starting the centrifuge. Let's see what results come out. The laboratory is already open, so... Fucking hell! Ridley! Mr. Ridley! Where is he? The fuses need resetting. Fuck it. I'll do it myself. I swear there was a flashlight in here. Whatever. I know where the switches are anyway. First the right, and then the left. And voila. What? What the... oh, for fuck's sake. Can't I work in peace?
No, of course I can't work in peace.
Jack Hanman speaking.
Easy, why so rude?
Steve? Sorry, man. This place is falling apart, and Ridley won't even lift a finger to help. You just can't work here.
Did the centrifuge trip the fuses again?
Yeah, eventually everything's gonna go up in smoke.
Look on the bright side. It's a free cremation with your autopsy.
Jesus, stop it. That shit pisses me off.
Okay, sorry, Jack. Anyway, I'm calling to ask how the autopsy's going. Soon there'll be journalists sniffing around for info, so we'd best be ready.
I'll whiz through this in a couple of hours. It doesn't look like a complicated case to me. More of a formality. The report will be available in the morning.
Sounds great. Thanks. Phew! How's your head?
Well, my head seems better than yours. On the way to work.
Holy fuck. Jack, turn on the radio.
What? What's happening?
Quiet.
A 3-car police convoy was involved in an accident near Pete's Bay Bridge while transporting prisoners to Orleans Parish Prison. At the moment, we do not know the exact number of victims or whether any of the convicts escaped. However, the scale of the accident indicates a large number of victims, possibly even fatal ones. Police are on their way to investigate the incident and secure the area. We know that the injured prisoners are on death row. The police were to transport them to their execution, which was to take place tomorrow morning. Many of them are very dangerous criminals. We will report on the matter on an ongoing basis, so stay tuned with us.
What? Steven, was Red Pete one of the passengers? He was, wasn't he? What if he survived?
Jack, I have to go. You want me on site?
What if he survived?
I gotta go. Talk to you later, okay?
Fuck. Calm down, Jack. Pills. I need my pills. You heard him, Jack. A serious accident. Lots of victims. He's definitely dead. Yes. Nothing's going to happen. Christ. I've got to get back to work. What? Technical break. At least I know I can pursue a career as a janitor if I need to. My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy. Fucking hell! Alright, let's see if we were able to get anything out of this piece of crap. And miraculously, yes. The samples did spin. I'll transfer them to the chromograph in the lab. My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy. Alright, let's load this up. I placed the test tubes in the rack. Now, just take 5 milliliters from each. Precisely. And the next. Five more. We put the prepared sample into the machine. Let's see what we have here. The results indicate that the deceased did consume alcohol shortly before her death. However, this is not an amount that could cause poisoning leading to death. Just slight inebriation. I can return to the body and continue the rest of the examination. The chromatograph results show that we can eliminate alcohol poisoning from our list of potential causes of death. However, remember that alcohol can affect the functioning of the entire body. It disturbs the heart rhythm, accelerating its rate, and dilutes the blood, which may result in more severe bleeding in the event of an accident. Also remember that alcohol affects the metabolism of drugs in the liver, which I'll now look at in more detail. First, I'll pick up the syringe again. I'll take samples from the liver and the heart to test the concentration of barbiturates in the body. That's enough. I'll do the test later. I'd best not try my luck with the centrifuge right now. Now I removed the liver. No lesions. However, it is slightly enlarged. Perhaps it's a slight... It may also be... Let's check the weight of... The weight is 1,300 grams. The liver is enlarged. I'll move on to a cross-sectional study. Perhaps the enlargement is the result of early cancerous changes. The blade glides through smoothly. I don't feel like I'm encountering any changes with an unusual structure. No steatosis or cirrhosis. The liver is actually quite clean inside. The liver is basically healthy. We already know that the deceased didn't abuse alcohol. The question is, what about drugs or other substances? I move on to the heart. Oh. At a glance, we can see signs of a heart attack. The deceased is definitely too young to have a heart attack due to natural causes. The liver is enlarged, not from alcohol poisoning, and the heart looks like it has collapsed. So, I guess we need to go to the centrifuge and check for these barbiturates.
Why is it not letting me do anything? Won't let me out, won't let me do anything. Oh, this is shit. It's not letting me do No, I'm stuck. Just won't let me go back on that. Ah, fuck's sake!
The last time I saw this kind of poisoning was a few years ago. I better check the data in my notebook. He was a middle-aged guy. He took his medication and forgot about it. So, he took another pill. He forgot again, and took another one. And another one. Until he took the last one. That's why it's better to have amnesic drugs in boxes labeled with the days of the week. This sort of thing rarely happens anymore. Doctors tend to prescribe benzodiazepines. They are safer, but still shouldn't be combined with alcohol.
Okay, 10 minutes at 75.
All right. We close the centrifuge and pray that it doesn't trip anything again.
Right, here we go.
It looks like our luck is in. We can take the samples to the lab now. I wonder how she was able to get hold of these drugs. Okay, 2 samples this time. 6 milliliters each. Well, let's see how much of it we find. Nothing surprising. Significant amounts of phenobarbital metabolites of hepatic origin. Looks like I'll have to check the contents of the deceased's stomach. The tests show that the collected blood contained enough barbiturates to cause cardiopulmonary collapse. The question now is whether it was an accident or a deliberate act. I'm proceeding to examine the stomach. Before extraction, I ligate the entire organ to prevent its contents from spilling out. Okay, I'm now cutting out the organ, which will move to the board for dissection. Normally, the stomach and intestines are full of surprises. Not this time. We see remnants of undigested food and a dense mass of pills. You don't take this many drugs by accident.
She's trying to stop herself, is she?
Length and width normal. No obvious pathological changes. Undigested drugs found in the stomach of the deceased. The direct cause of death was probably an overdose. I'll check the rest of the organs, and then the nervous. Lungs are normal. No leak. The deceased's trachea is normal. Complete patency. The deceased's intestine is normal. No clear pathological changes. Abdominal cavity checked off. We can check the brain. I make a cut to open the lid of the victim's skull and remove the brain. Brain is normal. No obvious lesions. Alright. I need to dissect it on a board. Using a knife, I carefully cut through the brain tissue. I peek inside a bit, and... I don't think there's anything worth noting. As expected, the deceased's brain is in excellent condition. No discoloration or changes due to hypoxia. There is still the matter of the marks on the neck. They look superficial, but who knows? Maybe the spinal cord has been severed. I need goggles and a saber saw. I think the goggles were in the desk drawer. Oh, they're out there. Alice. Saw. I need saw. Fuck. I don't see it here. Oh. I know. I probably left it in the basement after its last cleaning.
Fucking why in the basement? Thank you for the light, Kilda. For some reason,
Mr. Ridley, I need a key to the basement.
It's in the social room.
Why is the key lying at the... If only he could put that much enthusiasm into his work. I get the feeling that searching through this rubbish is more pathogenic than working with corpses. Please, may this be the last trip. did the prison convoy have to get into an accident? Jack, take a deep breath. Deep, pleasantly cool breath. You're nearly finished with the autopsy. Then you can go home and rest.
Where is the basement? Outside. Not that way.
I'll take the saw. Fuck! It's jammed! Doesn't anyone do maintenance around here? Damn hatch. Damn red Pete. Will I ever again? Will I ever be done with that fucker? If only.
Shit,
It would be easier if I put things away properly. Damn student lectures and their fucking props. And like clockwork, he's already sleeping. Sorry for the short interruption. I hope you all took the opportunity to grab some coffee. And now that I have everything I need, I'll move on to revealing this spinal cord. Is removed. I can see that the spinal cord was not severed. This shows that apart from the marks around the neck, hanging didn't negatively affect the condition of the deceased. Ladies and gentlemen, almost over. Now, to sum up and tidy away the body. The direct cause of Samantha Barker's death was a heart attack resulting from an overdose of barbiturates. Traces found on the body suggest that the overdose was a deliberate act, following a failed attempt to hang herself. The autopsy found no evidence or genetic materials indicating that death could have been the result of an attack. Third-party involvement must be excluded. Autograph, and we can start sewing. In the 1950s and 1960s, the use of barbiturates for suicide was actually quite common. I think it was most talked about after the death of Marilyn Monroe. At home, it was a help and comfort. On death row, a farewell to the convicts. Well, we're done for today. Thank you for your attention. Tiring day. I can feel those hunger pains coming on. I guess I'll have to pick something up along the way. Gloves in the trash, leave the apron for cleaning. Now I can go. A nightcap will do me good. Good night, Mr. Ridley. The police will pick up the body and accompanying documentation in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I guess there are actually two things in this world you can be certain of. Death and Ridley's reluctant attitude. Alright, maybe three things. My whiskey on the rocks when I get home.
I take it we're a bit I'm not sure. But that's what I assume from this.
So cold. I guess I should have brought my jacket to work. This block can be quite intimidating when it's so quiet. Almost there. Steven didn't want to go out for a drink tonight, so I'll drink my whiskey in the company of my TV. Shit. I forgot the muffin. Well, Ridley will have a nice treat for the night. I'm sure he'll be his happy, thankful self tomorrow. What? What? What the fuck? But I locked it. I'm sure of it.
Someone broke into my apartment now.
Did we just become best friends? Yup! Pop them booty, bitch! Yeah.
Who the fuck did this? I don't have anything valuable.
Right guys, I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'm just gonna go for a quick pee break. I'll be 2 seconds. Okay, right. Where am I?
Money. They must have stolen the money. Fuck! Great. That's all I need. What if it was Red Pete?
Where's my ring?
She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck. wasn't able to support her through this. These were from Thanksgiving. Stephen invited me. I was going to give them to his mother, but then I met Alice. That was the first time I saw her. Where? I need my pills. I can't get my thoughts together. Okay. I'm gonna have to report this to the police. Christ. Why did the neighbors not report anything? I'm calling Stephen. Stephen?
Now, Jack, I told you, I'm going for a drink with you for another night in a row.
That's not why I'm ringing. Although I could do with one. Someone broke into my apartment.
What? Did anyone see anything? Have you called the police yet?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, no one contacted me. As for the police, I'm calling right now, officer.
All right. Do you want me to head round? Look for any trace evidence?
I don't know. No, I guess not. Honestly, I don't have the strength to deal with it right now. I just want to lie down.
Are you sure? Because it's no trouble at all.
I think so. I'm sorry. I just wanted to calm down a bit. I don't know. That's probably some stupid joke. Only money was stolen.
Oh, no,
Money?
I don't think so.
From Alice's box? Oh, fuck. Listen, I can come over. I have the key. I'll drop by, do what I need to do, and you go get some sleep.
No, don't trouble yourself. Lately, I've been just so tired and distracted. I don't know. Maybe I forgot to close the apartment door on my way to work. If anything else is missing, I'll let you know and call the police.
All right. Just make sure you close it tonight. If you see anything weird tomorrow, let me know. Whoever did this may be watching you.
I don't think anyone is dumb enough to come back.
You're probably right. Take care, Jack. If you need anything, call me.
I promise I will. Thanks, Stephen. Sorry to bother you
for the
again.
follow.
I've just been all over the place lately.
It's not a problem. Good night, Jack.
Good night.
Alright.
What? I guess I should clean this shit up. Where to start? To be honest, I could leave it like this. There you go. I still don't understand why Alice liked this painting so much. Shit. The glass in this thing needs to be replaced. I'm glad this didn't break.
Jack, why?
I think I'm just tired. Maybe I could barricade the door with this. I should pack this thing away. I have no interest in DIY at the moment. Now I'm sure I won't get caught up in these papers. Alice's family should really have some of these. That's enough for now. Jeez, I'm exhausted. I'll get the rest in the morning. What a mess. Now if only I could blame this on the burglars.
Uh, okay. Go to work.
Oh yeah, I should take my pills.
Why is everything tidy?
feel like it takes me forever to finish these things. That's enough. It will never look clean. I need to quickly change and finish getting ready. I'm gonna be late for work again. Got my keys, got my files. Check. Time to go. Remember to close the door properly, Jack. I'll ask the neighbors tomorrow if they saw anything suspicious. I wonder if Ridley fixed the coffee machine.
Probably not.
Maybe a bit optimistic. I'd better grab a coffee on the way.
Right, let's go.
I'm exhausted.
Not surprised.
I wonder
working
who
night
Stephen
shift.
brought in today. Good morning, Mr. Ridley. Oh, he's not here yet? No, I'll do without him. Almost there.
Yeah, a bit creepy now.
Now for the tough part. The body needs to be moved. Where's Ridley when you need him? Alright. I just need some gloves and my apron. Then I can get to work.
Get the gloves and the apron
I'm
on.
going to need my tape recorder for this. Autopsy dated November 22nd, 1991. 7:32 p.m. Led by Dr. Jack Hanman. I begin by verifying it's most likely Harper Lloyd, age 35. Found in a well-owned house by her neighbors Leonard and Dorothy Chelsea. Reported missing for a week. Firefighters found the body after the Chelsea family began complaining that their tap water tasted strange, and at one point
there we go.
had begun to smell and turn a dark color. It is also known that the deceased was diagnosed with affective bipolar disorder. Harper was placed on drug therapy, which she dropped out of fairly regularly. During her treatment, she was under the care of her common-law partner, Richard Benson, professional truck driver. The last person who had contact with the deceased was her partner. Harper's last message read as follows. I'm gonna take a shit in their stupid well. Then we'll see who has the last laugh. Police records also show that Mrs. Lloyd was in constant conflict with her neighbors. The constant parties and subsequent brawls made living in the area nearly impossible, especially when Lloyd's partner wasn't around.
Okay.
I proceed to open the bag and check the state of the most important task in forensic identification of a drowned person is to distinguish whether the death occurred before or after entering the water. Okay,
Oh, lovely.
that could have been worse. I carefully removed the victim's clothes so as the deceased one shoe is missing. I'm going to need the camera to document all possible suspicious marks. Definitely the first thing that stands out is the very advanced post-mortem gigantism. The skin of the deceased appears very delicate, smooth, and relaxed from being in the water for a long time. The whole body is extremely pale. Post-mortem markings are seen on the underside of the body, that is, on the back, thighs, and calves of the deceased. It's likely that the deceased was lying on her back when she was fished out. There are bruises and hemorrhages on the neck. These usually occur due to increased inhalation when fighting to breathe underwater. The skin on the hands can be easily separated from the body. The separation takes the form of a glove. The so-called washerwoman's skin on the feet. The deceased had indeed been in the water for a long time. There are some obvious scratches on the skin. So, after the preliminary exam, it's time to take a closer look at the today's date. The deceased was clothed. Rigor mortis does not need to be checked. Based on the state of decay, you can be sure it has subsided. Where to we see thick, white foam in the mouth of the deceased, resulting from pulmonary edema. Foam is a characteristic in deaths due to drowning. There are obvious scratches on the skin, especially on the back and hands. These could be defensive wounds, evidence of some sort of altercation prior to death. The spots have a purplish blue-red hue, which is a typical sign of the death of the organism. No obvious signs of struggle. The skin on the hands would have easily peeled away from the flesh. Some of the fingers have already lost their nails. Yep, pretty typical. Liver mortis are formed as a result of putrefaction of blood in the veins. Due to the fact that the deceased was wearing shoes all the time, her feet are in better condition than her hands. Nevertheless, we can still notice a clear, wavy skin and the so-called washerwoman's skin texture. Okay, that's probably enough to indicate a direction for further examination. I'd better note that down in the records. Marks found on the neck and foaming at the mouth are typical signs of drowning people. Those abrasions appear relatively fresh. No healing or scarring is visible. There doesn't seem to be anything unusual about this liver mortis. Hands heavily wrinkled from submersion in water. Typical washerwoman's skin. Diffuse spots are caused by blood rotting in the veins. Considering the deceased's penchant for drinking alcohol, it could have been a mere accident. In this case, the question is, was drowning an accident or of suicidal intent? Maybe it's just an abrasion, or maybe their distribution suggests that the victim was probably lying on her back when fished out of the water. Fortunately, the skin on the hands didn't fall off. Otherwise, I'd have trouble identifying the deceased. Liver mortis of a different color could indicate poisoning with carbon monoxide, cyanides, or nitrates. However, a simple trip, loss of balance, and as a result, you end up in a deep hole with no way. Before I begin the dissection, I'll make sure the suggested identity is correct. The suitcase with the fingerprint equipment should be around here somewhere. Oh, here. The fingerprint sheet should always be checked. Slipping fingers, too much or too little ink, or inaccurate hand position can make fingerprints illegible. If the body of the deceased is well preserved, fingerprinting is similar to that of a living person. With decomposing bodies, the tissue of the pads on the fingers tends to shrink. To remove these shrinkages, a mixture of glycerin or air is used. I'm going to conduct a dactyloscopic examination. If in fact the deceased is in the police database, I will find her. Glycerin is injected successively between the nail and the skin of each finger. The substance then enters the fingertip, removing shrinkage and wrinkles. Now I take a brush. Only when the skin is taut and elastic can you use ink. I think it's enough. In the case of drowning victims, you have to be extremely careful. The skin may fall off the hand like a glove when you take the print. I'll use the fax machine to add the print into the system. Green button, and... Once the data uploads, I'll run the prints against the police database on the computer. Great. The data is there. Click Upload. Now, go through the database and find a matching print. Expect possible hours of fun. One more. Okay. Let's check for matches. This is not our Jane Doe. One more.
Oh, didn't see that one down the bottom.
Analyze button. And we have a result. Everyone has a story to tell, even if it's just a police record. So, as predicted, the deceased turned out to be Harper Lloyd. That went smoothly. I'll print this out and attach it to the medical records. I wasn't sure it would amount to anything, but the World Wide Web has been a blessing for speeding up my work. Great. Now I can go back to my inspection. I'm adding the name of the deceased. I'll start the internal examination by taking fluid from the victim's brain. A needle inserted through the nose. If the victim was alive when she fell into the well, she must have swallowed water fighting for her life. And then
Just done a few
diatoms,
autopsies.
characteristics of pooled water like a well, got into the body. In the meantime, I'll check the sample under the microscope. I'm sure that these algae traces will be found in the samples taken from the well where police found the body. Now I need to adjust the knobs properly and place the diatom in the center of the slide. Diatoms are single-celled microscopic algae. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. The aperture... Oh, I'm finally starting... The aperture still... Oh, nah. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. Great. I won't even notice an army. It's not a... And perfect. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. And perfect. I won't even notice an army of diatoms. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. And perfect. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. It's not a dirty lens, and perfect. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. And perfect.
I don't get it. Thank you for the share. For some reason my notifications aren't working today.
I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. And it's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. And perfect. As expected,
There he is.
we find the aforementioned algae in the solution. Their upper part, Epitheca, which overlaps the lower, Hypotheca, is clearly visible. The presence of diatoms in the brain samples taken indicate that the deceased was certainly alive when she fell into the water and was possibly conscious. Since there were diatoms in the brain, it means that many more of them must have entered the body. Studies of the rest of the organs will most likely confirm this hypothesis. I can finally get to the practical part. I must be extra careful because the skin of the deceased is very stretched. I wouldn't want an explosion here. You can immediately see a very large swelling of the organs. In addition, all internal organs are very congested. I proceed to remove the rib cage. It's easy to see that the ribs have been imprinted in the lungs. So, I'm going to start by drawing blood from the lungs for testing for diatoms. If diatoms were only present in the lungs, this would mean that the victim was placed in the well after death, and the perpetrator wanted to get rid of the corpse in this way. Now, taking the lungs in my hand, I feel that the tissues have lost their elasticity, which is the result of water emphysema. In addition, there is significant swelling of the organs, and as a result, we have a nice imprint of the ribs. The emphysema itself, it's clear how far it's progressed, which is characteristic of drowning.
Get that looked down.
Corpses found in water are worth examining with a tomograph. However, I can't count on such luxuries, so I must reach for a more archaic technology. A bucket and water. Ooh, I hope no one dipped a mop in it. It's best to go to the lab for this. Oh, Jesus.
Nah, what the fuck? Fuck off. Where am I supposed to perform a drown test? How? How do I do that?
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife. Huh?
What? Nah. What the fuck is that? Oh man, I don't like this. I don't know. Where am I supposed to be filling this up? Yeah? Perform a drown test. How can I do that when...
Historically, the lung float test is used to detect infanticide. The water should be at room temperature. That's enough. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water. This checks if there is air in the lungs. And speaking of lungs, everything is ready to bring them here. Of course, such a study isn't without flaws. Air may have entered a newborn's airways during resuscitation attempts. Gas is released during decomposition. In this case, however, it's about something else. Namely, the amount of fluid in the lungs. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water and wait to see if they fall or if they will float on the surface.
Interesting.
Just as I assumed, the lungs collapsed easily. Fluid could have entered the lungs during panic attempts to catch breath underwater, but it could also be the result of bacterial infections or cancer, so further investigation is needed. I move on to dissecting the lungs of the deceased. You can hear the distinct, very unpleasant crackling of the tissues being cut through. The parenchyma is remarkably pale, although small hemorrhagic foci and petechia are present on the surface.
Sorry, my notifications aren't working today for some reason.
Alright. Now, I will check the collected fluid under a microscope. If we find 20 diatoms on the slide, it can be considered drowning, and our result is not false positive due to possible contaminations. The aperture... Oh, I'm finally starting to see something. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. And perfect.
Where are they? There they are. Oh shit.
As expected. In solution, the diatoms are clearly visible. There are smaller and larger clusters of them. There will definitely be more than 20 of them. I'll make a note of all this. So far, this case looks pretty standard. It's clear from the beginning that it's drowning. Well, the procedure requires me to check everything anyway. So, I move on to checking the other organs. I ligate the heart, and then remove it for inspection. Strongly developed putrefactic hemolysis, the organ can be seen at first glance. Apart from that, no signs of a heart attack or other heart disease. I move on to the next organ. This time, it's the liver. It's immediately apparent that the deceased didn't care for herself. Like most organs, the beginnings of cirrhosis are visible in some areas. I transfer the organ to a board and proceed to dissect.
Oh, we're gonna go cut off her liver, are we? Okay.
The cross-section clearly shows dilated veins and many small hemorrhagic foci. I must admit that this is quite a feat, considering the rather young age of the deceased. Harper enjoyed drinking so much that she might not have lasted a few more years. I move on to the stomach. I take a sample of the fluid for testing.
Okay.
It looks very turbid. I'll see what happens after spinning, but that's in a moment. Now, I carefully ligate the organ, then cut it off. It's enlarged, probably full of putrid gases.
No, we're not gonna.
I transfer it to the board and carefully open it, checking the contents.
Okay. Let's go dissect it.
One thing you'd never get used to is how much this task smells. Okay, the stomach is full of fluid and unidentified organic matter, which is probably leftover food. So let's check the diatoms. Again, but in a centrifuge for a change. The problem with examining drowned people is being able to show whether the death was due to drowning or whether something else contributed to the death. Cramp, heart attack, drugs, homicide, or some accident. Such an analysis requires viewing from different angles and a careful interpretation of the collected data, including those from the field. That's why it's so important to collect as many samples as possible. Unfortunately. Okay, this is one last little sample. Now set.
Want diatoms. 35, 25. 35 minutes. 20.
Done. I'll run it directly into the chromatograph and run it against the data from the police. I'm certain the analysis will show similarities between the fluid and water in Chelsea's well. Let me think. 3 milliliters should be fine. Okay, now it's the chromatograph's turn.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Positive.
The water sample matches the one provided by the police. Well, the results are quite clear. I was hoping it would be a more interesting case.
Okay.
More diatoms. Fantoms. Analysis indicates the same origin. Blah, blah, blah. There's little left to do. Interesting. Looks like there's something stuck in the trachea. I'm moving to the board for further inspection. I dissect the trachea and open the organ. Inside, based on the size, I can say that it's a woman's wedding ring. Quite standard from the outside.
Ah.
There's an engraving inside. What the fuck?
That's the missing
But
wedding
this is
ring
my
from our
ring.
books.
Alice's ring. But how did it, but this should be at home. I have it. At home. It's, I have to check this out. Where are my meds? Where the fuck are my meds? Jesus Christ! Hope these all make it go away. I have to check the apartment. It can't be. Jesus Christ! Mr. Ridley. Jesus Christ! I have to check this out.
Okay, shit's gonna go down.
This can't be real. Where is it? Where is it? Where? Please, please, please. It's not here. It's not. I need to go. I need to go. This is sick. Fuck. Come on, Steven. Pick up the fucking phone.
What's up, man?
They took the ring.
What? What ring? What are you talking about?
They took the wedding ring. Alice's wedding ring.
One sec. You mean burglary? You said nothing was missing.
Yes, I know that. I don't know. I was jittery. Maybe I didn't notice. I don't know, but that's not the worst of it.
Calm down, Jack. Breathe. What happened?
I found it in the trachea of the deceased I was working on. Do you understand? I pulled it out of a dead woman's trachea.
What?
I don't know what's going on. You think Red Pete wants revenge? He's playing with me. Huh? I knew it. I knew it from the beginning this was going to happen. I didn't make it up!
Jack, listen to me. Try to calm down. Don't leave the apartment. I'll be with you right away, okay? I'm on my way.
What sane person would do something like that? How? And when? When the fuck? Fucking Ridley lets in whoever he likes as usual. What are you saying? Steve? Steven? Don't leave me, man. Come on. Fuck. Oh, God, what now? Okay, just calm down. Just, Jesus. What's going on? Just one sip more. Yep. Jesus. Just one sip more. Oh, God. All right. I can't do it anymore. These reports will kill me one day. I'll have to finish it over the weekend. It's time to go to work. I should take out the trash first. Jesus. Fuck. Maybe I'll just ignore it. Yes?
Hi, this is Charlotte. I guess I interrupted you again?
Oh, hi. No, I just... I wrote reports in those last sections, and I was just about to leave for work.
Always know when to call.
Yeah, definitely. What's up? How are you?
I'm good, thanks. What about you?
Okay, nothing new. I had a few days off.
Oh, that's nice. Then... Did you have a moment to look for something for me?
Something for you?
Well... the photo with, the photo I asked you for?
It hasn't come yet? Oh, sorry, but I said it a week ago.
No, not yet. Maybe I'm too impatient. I'm sorry for rushing you. You have so much on your mind, I thought maybe you forgot.
It's okay. No worries. With my pills, Pills. I almost forgot to take my pills. So you see,
Yeah.
I have to go now.
Yes, sure.
Let me know if you still haven't received the letter. Then I'll try... well, maybe I'll find something else.
Oh, really? Could you? It would be great if you could. Really?
Yes. I know it means a lot to you.
Well, I won't hold you any longer. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Damn. Did I mess up the address? How am I gonna get those pills?
I always get stuck behind the fucking door and that's...
Maybe I should invite Charlotte to do something herself.
Oh, that trash.
Ugh. Why is it so wet? Ugh. Oh, shit. Almost left the door open. What's going on?
Why did I walk over there? I shouldn't have done that. Not very risky.
I wonder if Alice's mother has a film of this photo somewhere. I actually hadn't thought about it before. I should call her on Friday.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna do this chapter and then I'm gonna jump off. This is getting creepy.
Oh, God. Why do I like sleeping so much? Huh? Good afternoon.
Isn't it a bit early for you?
I missed our invigorating I think I'll get straight to work on this one. Focusing on something will do me some good. Christ, this one's heavy. Hey, Mr. Ridley, I need help. I can't lift this bag myself. Ridley! Ugh, wasn't easy, but at least I can start. A new package must have arrived. I guess Dorothy ordered it. I think I'll skip recording a video for the students today. They don't need to see me and the body. Ugh. And they'll still have the accompanying November 27th, 1991, 5:14 p.m. Conduct James Evans Jr., also known as Jesse. Age about 30, weight 130 kilograms, height 180 centimeters. Evans had previously been convicted of possession of stolen goods, robberies, and drug trafficking. There were also attempts to accuse him of leading a criminal group responsible for burglaries in the New Orleans area. What? Burglaries in the New Orleans area? This is... It's a rat. Police photos show that the body was not even particularly hidden, but only covered with a thin layer of soil, branches, and leaves. The body was found naked and mutilated. Clothes, probably belonging to the deceased, were found lying nearby. The deceased's father, James Evans Sr., is a local businessman. He was the one who reported the disappearance. The body was found inadvertently in the woods near Peetsville. The dogs picked up the scent while searching for a missing boy. Sounds disturbing. I wonder what condition the body is in then. I'll start by opening the bag. Oh, fuck. I didn't expect this level of mutilation. This is going to be a dirty job. I'll check through the bag the police left. Maybe there will be something worth noting about the victim's clothes. Plain classic jeans. Certainly not my style. Is this? Interesting. Most of the blood, something stuck here. It looks like some kind of ecdysis? Scale? Mainly traces of soil. It's a bit like the perpetrator's pulled his shirt over his head. The bloodstains don't appear to be related to a lighter, engraved with the police insignia. Stolen? Or maybe it looks somehow... it's probably a coincidence. And here, another animal souvenir. It looks different than the previous one. The only thing I can tell from the clothes is that... Okay, I'll take a look at the scales. They seem too different. Dorothy once brought an animal encyclopedia here. She performed an autopsy on an exotic animal smuggler.
I like him, yeah.
The guy suffered an accident while transporting illegal animals. Not only were the police needed on site, but it took nearly a day to round up his cargo. Dorothy had a hard time with that case. Did the impact kill him? Or did one of the animals he was transporting do him in? They even talked about it on the news. People were terrified that some reptile would just come out of their can and grab him. Okay, the book.
What the fuck?
Who is this? Alright. Which page was it? Local wildlife. I bet I'll find something here. Nope. It's a completely... Oh, that was quick. I wouldn't expect anything else. Not this area, but who knows. Very similar, but the color is Nile crocodile. What kind is this? Oh, yes. This turtle turned out to be a killer. He ripped off the guy's... I only need to concentrate on the crocodile chapter. That jaw could effectively kill. An interesting pattern, very diverse, but no way. I would expect something local? I certainly don't remember hearing of an animal escaping from the zoo. So, either someone donned in crocodile products was around the deceased, or one of them attacked him. I'll examine the body and take photos. If an animal attacked him, there'll be traces. Ugh. Christ. Why am I so tired? Some coffee would be nice. What was I supposed to... the pictures. I'll have to show them to Dorothy. Too bad that we no longer keep our ranking. With something like that, I would come out on top. Alright, I'll begin. The deceased's skin is smooth and taut. This suggests an advanced stage of decomposition of the corpse. It's unlikely that a human would make such a wound. This wound appears to have been made by a sharp instrument. Nasty. Such a wound could not have occurred during the victim's lifetime. There are also clear traces of the deceased ankles being bound in some way. Evans couldn't have tied himself up like that. It looks like some sort of attack or kidnapping. Oh, and as expected, there's a bite. No head. That's not hard to miss. Interesting. This needs to be investigated further. I need to gather my thoughts together. And look at these photos. It seemed... I wonder whether the decapitation to the work... I should inspect these areas with a magnifying glass first. This looks very promising. The bite is clearly visible. It should be easy to compare with the encyclopedia and identify the culprit. I just need to make it a little bigger. It'll be faster. I hope I put it in right. I can never remember whether it was image up or image down. That universe. Fantastic. Practice some tracing paper, a pencil, and I can check these in the encyclopedia. Now, did I leave them in a drawer? Or maybe a box somewhere?
Okay, fine.
I don't remember if I left them out somewhere.
Right, that was a pencil. It's gonna be one of these, isn't it? Oh.
Wednesday. It's not my favorite day, although it's certainly better than Monday.
Where the fuck is the tracing paper then? Oh. I didn't even see that.
Oh, looks like I can tidy up after myself. Archives. Just as lifeless as the corpses they concern. A very, nature-driven case so far. I'll have to consult the encyclopedia again. Good thing Dorothy left it here. Otherwise, I would have had to run back to my place to get some. I would be concerned if it was this crocodile that killed him. Definitely not. The tooth line forms a V letter. The shape of the jaw appears correct, but not the teeth. It makes sense. This would also explain the molt found in the clothes. It turns out that some of the wounds can be safely blamed on local alligators. However, we cannot blame them for the decapitation. It's not these animals we should be afraid of here. I should make some notes and
Okay.
And look for other... it doesn't look good. Evans wasn't decapitated with one cut. Several stab wounds of varying depth and circumference. Mississippi alligator. It's strange that an alligator would leave such a clear and smooth mark.
This is a bit strange.
The imprints are quite deep and even. From the looks of it, I'd say Evans was restrained with his own belt. The result of an animal tearing at its body, eaten skin, soft tissues, and genitals. There are even some teeth marks, but... well, it doesn't look like an alligator. The bite is firmly incorporated into the wound. A photo alone won't help me here. I need to make a cast and compare it. Looks like an uneven bite. It's worth taking a closer look at this. Maybe there will be some remaining teeth marks. Evan's right side must have been more attractive to the crocs and insects. Very strong binding marks. You can see peeled epidermis and small wounds.
Hey, hope you're all good. Thank you for the like. My notifications aren't working today.
It looks like the killer might have missed
I don't
before
know
they
why
finally hit the
Stream
neck.
Pass is just being silly again.
There's no end to playing zoologist today.
Okay.
I need a tool with dental impression cement. Can I find it here? No. It's probably lying somewhere around in the lab. I hope the cement hasn't expired.
Keep going with me.
A month after the due date. That could be worse.
You know what? It'll be fine. Oh, I've got a gel by hold on.
to cover the bite area. Wait until it hardens. I think it's ready. The cast looks quite contaminated
That
from the
looks
other
like
wounds in
human
that
teeth,
area.
mate. That looks
Well,
like someone bit it off.
let's hope the imprint turns out better.
Okay.
Brush, ink, and paper. Similar to taking fingerprints. Paint over the area. And put a piece of paper on it. That's very strange. I'll run it through the fax and check it on the computer. I really don't want to believe what I'm seeing. Loading. Ugh. What? Wow. This is, well, this is quite unexpected. Human teeth. Oh, fuck. I need to tell this to Stephen. Loading.
I think this
It'll probably take a while.
match, okay.
Maybe not everything is cataloged correctly. Loading. It'll probably take a while. Loading. It'll probably take a while. Finally. What? The partial impression I have may match several people. Okay, this one is in prison, so he's out. Another in prison. Oh, here's someone with quite interesting tendencies. Oh, he's dead. It doesn't fit. This one doesn't either.
Cannibalism.
I'm afraid this will remain a mystery.
Oh,
The killer's profile is getting more and more interesting.
I died.
I'm going back to the body. Ugh. I need to make a note before I start the dissection. This wound turned out to be more troublesome than I thought it would be. They look quite shallow. Someone must have inflicted these with some sort of primitive tool. You can see that the tool used was sharp and smooth. So, what if it was in the hands of an unskilled person? Maybe something chased that alligator away before it bit down properly? Torn tissue, lacerations, bite wounds. The abdominal and genital area are supplied with plenty of blood. If the penis was bitten off while he was alive, Evans could have bled to death. I need to verify how deep these wounds go. If they punctured the organs, hemorrhaging could have occurred. For obvious reasons, I record decapitation as the cause of death. Alligators rarely kill humans. The perfect breeding ground for larvae. Fortunately, the deceased doesn't care about it, just like we do now. Due to the body fat of the deceased, I'm adding a heart attack to the list. Maybe Evans didn't live long enough to experience what happened to him. Man. I was hoping for an easy time for internal analysis. Finally. First of all, I'll try to determine whether with the scalpel, I'll open the deceased's chest. I cut deep, in a straight line. We see a lot of fat tissue under the skin. When I remove the ribs, I expect to see even more fat on the organs. Correct. High levels of internal. The deceased smoked cigarettes, but more importantly, and this is the culprit. Well, it didn't look like the holes were that deep. Such hemorrhage could have been caused by hitting the chest with a blunt object, or a puncture directly affecting the organ. They appear to be of different depths. The cross-section is uneven. Open pneumothorax should be added to this. The deceased could have experienced extreme hypoxia, and, as a result, obstructive shock. I wonder what the heart... The organ is enlarged with very clear, light yellow traces of steatosis on the surface. No, but similarly to the lungs, there is a trace of puncture with a sharp object. In pneumothorax, the heart rate increases. In the event of such a wound, this would mean bleeding out faster and more. In turn, a sudden increase in the amount of fluid in the pericardial cavity could lead to cardiac tamponade, which is also a life-threatening condition. Evans, however, is this all looks quite disturbing. I wonder if I'll find anything on the liver. The organ is fatty and enlarged. The beginnings of cirrhosis are obvious. Well, that's it. This time, nothing to write home about. So, I proceed. Like most other organs, it is fatty and clearly enlarged, not to mention swollen, partially due to gases, but mainly due to the deceased's lifestyle. I take the organ to the cutting board. If the outside is intact, I'm going to check the contents. It sounds like there's an unusually large amount of undigested, and now rotten stomach contents inside. Blood. Evans had to swallow it due to his injuries, which means he was still alive when he was brutally wounded in the chest. The trachea. Surprisingly, it's not damaged by the decapitation. I move on to cutting it open. Okay. I carefully cut, and... blood. Just as I expected. Evans not only swallowed it, but also choked on it. Looks like I can wrap this up. Let me tie this together. After he was abducted, stripped, and tied up, he was dealt several penetrating blows to the chest, then his head was cut off. Evans was deprived of his genitals, and the body served as an easy meal for the animals. Even though there are a lot of injuries on the body that could cause death, it was the decapitation that ended Evans' life. The animal bites on the limbs occurred after death, so there's no reason to treat these as the cause of death. The damage to the lungs and heart must have led to severe hemorrhaging, so there's no doubt that Evans was choking in bloody convulsions. But it didn't last too long, which I conclude from the small amount of blood in the stomach and trachea. I never thought I'd ever wish someone to have a heart attack, but in this case, it would have been better for him, in some way. It can be said with certainty that James Evans was murdered.
We know
Oh well.
it is things going
I need to stitch this poor guy back up. It's really bothering me.
on.
Something's not right here. Because even now, the organs are relatively clean. The skin around wound. I'll leave these questions for the police to solve. And now, I get to head home. It's a fucked up thing. I'll hold off taking long walks in the forest for the near future. I have a feeling that it won't end with just one body. Good night, Mr. Ridley. The body's ready to be picked. I think it's the first time in a long time that I finished work at a decent hour. Oh, come on. Fuck! When did I get a flat tire? What the fuck? Fuck. I'm going to Ridley's. Maybe he saw something. Ridley, do you know what happened to my car?
What happened to your car?
All the tires are fucking flat!
Well, it happens. Don't you have a spare in the trunk?
Spare ones in the trunk. No one carries 4 fucking extra tires. In the trunk!
Jesus, Handman, calm down. I'll call you a taxi.
Calm down? That's a bit of an exaggeration, don't you think? Have you seen anyone around here? Someone strange? Suspicious?
Except you? No.
Haha, funny. I don't find all these jokes amusing, you know.
What jokes? Handman, what's wrong with you? It's just tires.
Such things are not a coincidence! What's wrong with me? Things keep happening. Last week, and now this?
Just go wait for the taxi, okay? Fresh air would do you good. Neither you nor I will do anything about it now.
Neither you nor I will do anything? What have you been doing all day? Surely something like this can't just be overlooked.
Maybe you should go outside and cool down. I'm calling a taxi.
Cool down. I just want to sleep.
Right, guys, I think I'm gonna end it there for tonight because it is 10 past 11.
It would be easier just to move in and live here. I doubt I'll get reimbursed for the cab.
But thank you all for the likes, shares, and comments. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world.